Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online video with me, Sherman. Today guys, I'm going to be talking a little bit about High Isles, well the preview for High Isles, the Tide of War DLC, and Combat Update 33. But before I do need to let you guys know where I've been, what I've been doing, why I've been around for the last 2 months. I took some time off to kind of like look at where I am financially and see if ESO, like doing content was going to be something that was going to, I could continue doing financially. And I'll be honest, it isn't, but I want to keep doing it. So I'm going to keep doing ESO content until something else comes along that's better. So just letting you know. I did catch COVID 3 weeks ago. So I'm still kind of recuperating from that. It got me and my wife pretty bad. My kids not so much. All 4 of us in our household got it, so it was fun. We got a lot of family time together. Not really. We all had to stay in our separate rooms. But it was nice to be able to interact and do all that stuff during that time and look after each other. But we're all doing better, a lot better. But like I said, we're all still recovering in our own ways. Like I have lack of breath sometimes, so if I sound winded, that's why, and I do apologize. And I might cough a little. I'm going to try not to. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the video. So, High Isle, wow. Who would have guessed? I guess nobody, but I had an idea we weren't going to be in that. When they said political intrigue and all that kind of stuff, I figured that this was going to be something different. I've stuck with the news of the game, so I knew kind of like, okay, the game's going somewhere. Where are we going next? And I know that there was a lot of data mine stuff, but High Isle, wow, just from a lore perspective, High Isle is only in lore books. Like, literally. So the fact that the devs got to kind of do their own thing with it really is cool. And what they showed, first, the premiere trailer, is ZeniMax, listen to me. Get that team to make a movie on Elder Scrolls about the heroes of Elder Scrolls Online, the hero characters, the elf, the Breton, and the Nord. And that movie would sell like hotcakes. Okay, it would not only sell like hotcakes, it would probably be the #1 movie in the theater because it would be so damn good. Especially if you guys wrote the story and incorporated the lore and all that kind of stuff into it, in ways that would make the story better. Like, just do it. Just do it already. The trailer was amazing. By far the best trailer to date for Elder Scrolls. The High Isles environment and everything. I feel sad for places like, Elden Hollow and Grotwood and the base game content, because all the new content, like every chapter they release, they get better and better with creating the environments, and just the art and detail that they put into stuff is so amazing and so well done. I can't wait to get into High Isles and play. But I do feel like the other zones need a little bit of, maybe some tender loving care in the future. You could think about that. Because I do think the rest of the game is looking a little lackluster compared to High Isles. Now, they did show 2 areas of High Isles. They showed the High Isle area itself, the main city, and then they showed some of the landscape, and then they showed us Steris, I think is what it was called. And that looks crazy. The fact that it's an island, a lawless island prison with no guards, that blows me away. I want to know that story. They showed off a little bit about the trial. The story of the trial sounds fantastic. The trial itself, the thing that we're going to be fighting in there sounds new and exciting. We're not going to be fighting against some Daedric prince or some Daedric enemy or something like that, and we're not fighting against some big bad water creatures. We're fighting against Bretons, and that to me is pretty awesome. We are getting a new card game with the High Isle chapter. So the card game itself on paper sounds amazing. The fact that you take four, each person has two decks, and you take those two decks and combine it all into one deck, and then you play this like resource battle game, to me sounds fun. It sounds like it could be something that could lead to some better stuff. The rewards for it sound pretty cool, but the are you going to release new decks every DLC or chapter, or is it going to be like companions where we're going to get two companions a year? Which we are getting two new companions as well, a Khajiit and a Breton. And the way they describe them sound really cool. But enough about them, back to the card game. The card game itself, like, it almost reminds me of companions and antiquities. The idea sounds great, but is the implementation going to be good? And I hope it is. I hope it's better than antiquities. I hope it's better than the companion system. And I hope they look at those too in the future and say, what can we do to make these better? But yeah, I'm excited for that. I'm excited for all of it. But account-wide achievements. I mean, come on. Do you know how long people have been asking for account-wide achievements for ESO? Forever. Now, I know there's going to be positive and negative effect on that, because I will admit it does take away the reward of earning titles on each character, not just through the in-game or through PvP or, but every aspect of the game. But at the same time, like, there needs to be incentive to play the content in the first place, not just earning achievements and titles, but being rewarded for the hard work you put into it. There needs to be something there. And I think that one thing they could do for trial players is, especially trial players, is put in a key system, like add the trials to the Undaunted, or do, like, make Belkarth, I don't know, whatever it is in Craglorn, be the place where you go for trial weeklies and dailies. Well, I don't know if I do trial dailies, but definitely the trial thing. And then, like, have there be like an Undaunted reward system where you can go to a chest, you can use a key, and you can be rewarded. And this will incentivize more people to play that content, because as it is now with the sticker book and the title system, like, there's less reason to replay content once you're rewarded with what you want. There's no reason to play the content again. Like, and it does. It makes the game feel stagnant. So having reasons to go back and play it, like the Undaunted does, to play dungeons, but also to play trials, is something that's needed. So I would like to see them do that. We are getting a new world event. So right now in the world, we have things like Abyssal Geysers. We have the Dark Anchors in the base game, the Abyssal Geysers in Somerset. We have the Harrow Storms in Western Skyrim and the Reach. In Blackwood, we have the Portals, and also in the Deadlands. And then also, with Elsewhere, we have the Dragons. Well, we're getting another event like that, but it's going to be more along the lines of like Abyssal Geysers, they said. I'm glad they're adding more event type stuff, like world event type stuff to the zone. But I really feel like this is an opportunity to make the year-long story feel like it affects the world. And what I mean by that is adding those things, those geysers, to the entirety of the world. That, the places players have access to. Not the Deadlands, not Clockwork City, not that, but the land of Tamriel itself, because now it would be a good time to implement that, to where when you play the prologue, you find out about these geyser things that are appearing all over the land, and that plays into the overarching story of, like, where did these geysers come from? Where, why are they here? And it kind of incentivizes players to check out the new content that's coming with the High Isles. that, in my opinion, would be a better option, to allow players to go to these other areas and, you know, go back to existing areas and experience some of these things that are like the dark anchors and the abyssal geysers and the dragons. Like, could you imagine if dragons attacked the whole of Tamriel? Like, how cool that would have been for 1 year to be fighting dragons everywhere, and then, you know, you could experience them, and if you don't end the chapter, you could still fight the dragons and be rewarded with zone rewards from it. It would have been cool. But that's just me. I think that would improve the game so much more. But I do like the idea of the geysers, and I really hope they are like the abyssal geysers, where you have ones that are like pretty easy to do with like by yourself, and then you have ones that might require a little bit larger group, and then you have ones that literally require a raid group to do. That's what I loved about the abyssal geysers when they first launched. There was one geyser that had a one-shot mechanic. So you'd be in there with like 30 people, and all of a sudden you'd see all of them die. Boom, one hit. And you'd be standing outside of it going, oh man, I should have told them. Like, it was really cool. And then they fixed it, of course, and now it's not like that, and you can pretty much solo all the abyssal geysers, but it is challenging to solo them. And I'm really excited to see them adding more of that kind of content to the world. I really like the portals with Blackwood and Deadlands, because they had the right amount of challenge for like a small group of friends playing together. It was just the right challenge. And then when you play by yourself through one of those, the challenge was perfect. Like, it had just enough to make it super hard for a single player, but when you do it with a group, it just has that good challenge to it. And I really like that. I really like that about the portals. I really liked it about like the abyssal geysers and the horror storms. Like, we need more of that. And the dragons, we need more of that stuff, to where players can challenge themselves to in Overland more. But it needs to be everywhere, not just in the newest chapter and stuff like that. I feel like it would be cool if those geysers happened all over the place. All right, give me a quick sec, guys. I need something to drink. All right, moving on. So next up, Tides of War. New dungeon DLC going on PTS on Monday, the 14th, and then will come out March 7th, I think it is, for PC. We're getting 2 new dungeons, which aesthetically, like the art, the environment, what Mike Finnegan showed of them, it's almost like the chapter itself. Like, the more they work on this stuff, the better the teams get artistically of creating these dungeon layouts and the mobs in them and the mechanics of them, and they look and sound amazing. So I can't wait to try them. I just have one problem. I have a partial eidetic memory, so I memorize locations, facts, things like different things about places. Like, I can drive from here, where I live in Arizona, to say Memphis, Tennessee, and I don't even need a map, guys. I've done the trip so many times, I've memorized it. I know where the gas stations are. I know the fastest way to get there. It's just in my nature. It's just who I am. Well, I have the same problem with video games. So dungeons, to me, they're repetitious, but they become boring really fast for me because of the fact that I memorize everything about them. I memorize all the secrets, all the stuff, and I can't stop myself from doing that. So it makes my experience in the game less fun than it does for a lot of other people. But I will say this: they look artistically and amazingly well done, and the stories sound fantastic. I can't wait to play them. And that's really it for the dungeons. But we are getting 6 new dungeon sets and 2 new monster sets. And they did kind of preview them, and you can go watch the preview trailer, which, by the way, if you check the link in the description below, there is a link to the preview live stream, so you can go look for yourself. Just pause the video on when they show the stats, and you can see all this stuff for yourself. The 6 new gear sets, the 2 heavy, the 2 light, the 2 medium, all of those look freaking amazing. And I'm not lying here, because there's new changes coming to the game that's going to make those sets even better. Now, what I don't like is the two block. I'm getting tired of heavy sets being block sets. I wish they would do more with heavy sets. Like, make some of them like Advancing the Otakai. Make some of them like do what you do with medium and light, but with heavy armor. It's okay to have a few block sets in there, but give us more. And so I'll say this: the stats on them, the stat blocks, and the 5-piece bonuses on these new sets look freaking incredible. The Griffin monster set has some unique dynamics to it. The Spriggan monster set looks just as good. The two heavy armor sets, like, I see their place in the game, and I can see why a lot of people are like, some of those are too op. The two light sets look crazy and are crazy, but that's what the game needs. The game needs more dynamic sets that are different from other sets. I mean, the 2 to 3 piece, we know that a lot of sets are going to mimic, but like, they're going to mimic each other. But when it comes to the 5-piece bonus, it's nice to see 5-piece bonuses that allow players to not require like a necromancer in the group with one of the sets, where you can apply minor vulnerability to a bunch of enemies. Like, really? Like, I'll take it, because now I don't need a necromancer in my trial group, because we can just use that set. The problem with that set is it has a 20-second reapplication, so it's like you can only reapply that every 20 seconds, but it's still a pretty good amount of time. I mean, that's 50% of the fight you can have minor vulnerability up. So on those really good, like, parts where you can do really good high burst DPS, just apply the minor vulnerability, boom, you're done, and your group's going to do insane DPS. But that's my point. Like, every set that they show has its benefits for a lot of different play styles to use them. So I think that that's really cool, and I really like it. But then they announced something else. Not only are we getting the 6 new dungeon sets and the 2 new monster sets, we are getting, and I'm going to say this, they're adding fuel to the fire with this, especially because it's PvP stuff. They're adding 3 new PvP sets and 3 new PvP monster sets that you can only get with Telvar stones by playing in the Imperial City itself. So you have to play the Imperial City to get Telvar stones, and then you can use those Telvar stones to buy one of the 3 new monster sets coming to the game. Remember what I was talking about, like doing an Undaunted thing, but with trials? Well, if they're going to add monster sets to PvP, they need to add monster sets to trials, because now you can have that incentive to have people repeat trials by getting keys when they do a daily trial, and then they can also get the reward of the weekly reward and the monthly reward for doing trials on top of the keys. This gives the in-game community more incentive to play it. And just like now, this will incentivize people to go into PvP to get some of these monster sets that might work in PvE really well. It's kind of like the PvE skill line, or the PvP skill line, the Alliance War skill line. There's a lot of skills in there that can be used both in PvE and PvP. There's a lot of sets in the game that can be used both in PvE and PvP. So there's such a wide range of things they can do with the game now, because of what they just did. They're doing with this March 7th update coming to the game, adding 3 gear sets, 3 monster sets to PvP, and then adding 3 new gear sets. Like, they've been adding 3 new gear sets every year to PvP, which is awesome. PvP needs more attention, and not just in gear. And that's why I'm saying this is adding fuel to the fire, because right now the PvP area of the game, Battlegrounds, I will say, are probably the most stable area to play PvP. Cyrodiil still gets really bad, like with desyncing and all the other errors, and I agree with the PvP players, that shit needs to be fixed, especially for console players, where it happens way more often than it does on PC. because it really depends on your PC. Like I don't have a super high end PC, but I have a decent PC, and I don't see the desync or skills not firing off like a lot of people do on the PC as much as I saw it on the Xbox. On the Xbox, it happens way more often in Cyrodiil, and even more in Battlegrounds, and even more in Trials, and even more in Dungeons than it does on PC. So there's a lot of things that they need to fix to make PvP better, but there's also a lot of things they could do to incentivize people to play PvP, and this is how they do it. They add these sets to the game that are universal, that work in PvP and PvE, but still have a couple sets that come out for PvP, like one set every time you do it, that's PvP restricted. That's like literally like there's sets they've released in the past where it's like you have to hit a player in order for it to get its effect. We need more sets like that for PvP. But we also need sets that drop in PvP that they can use in PvE content as well. So I'm excited to see what those sets are, and I'm excited to go do that content. Now, a lot of you are probably going, wait, I thought you didn't like PvP. I thought you just hated it. I did. This game changed that. See, I've been doing a lot of Battlegrounds. And because I've been doing so much Battlegrounds in ESO has taught me that you can't be afraid to do PvP. In fact, it's almost like it encouraged me to do PvP so I could become better at PvP, so I could play other games that have PvP. And now I PvP in New World. I PvP in Albion Online, which is a full loot PvP game, by the way. That means if you're in a red or black zone, you can lose all your gear. And I don't care. It's the fun and enjoyment. And that's the thing that I'm loving about playing PvP. It's the fun and enjoyment that it gives you. Not to be, it's your chance to be an asshole. But you don't have to talk shit to do it. You just do it. And like I'll say I've definitely improved. I've gone from like 3 to 4 kills per fight to like 20 to 25, and then with my healing I've gone from like 50k healing to now I can get up to anywhere, sometimes even up to 1 million in healing, depending on if I'm like if my healer is dedicated, if I'm dedicating myself to playing healing. So it's pretty cool when you have that in the game, like when you have that ability to play that healer in a PvP environment, and and people will say, oh, but it's so much different than playing PvE. No, it's really not. Like healing in PvE or PvP is almost the same. The difference is that your healing isn't as effective, so you need things that make it more effective, and that's why I've been enjoying it so much, is because being a necromancer healer and playing in PvP, you learn to use your corpses. You learn to use corpses better than you do in PvE. So now when I do PvE and I do a dungeon with my necromancer, it's a lot easier for me to heal because it's so much easier to do it. Because I've challenged myself with PvP healing as a necromancer, that when I do it in a dungeon, I'm better at it. So I'm loving it. And I can't wait to see all this stuff come to fruition on the 7th. All right. But that's not the biggest news. Getting new dungeons is great, but they're also doing a combat update. And this is where things get really interesting. Also, check the link in the description below for that preview update, because I put it down there and you can go read for yourself what I'm about to tell you. You guys see these? Everyone loves to use skills. Now, just imagine if you could use any skill on any character and it scales to your max stats. That means you want to use your Gravelord Pestilence Colossus? Well, it already scales to your max stat. Well, guess what? Now your active abilities scale to your max stat. And it doesn't matter whether it's Magicka or Stamina. skills are now going to scale off of whatever is your highest max stat. So if your max stat is magicka and spell damage, all skills are going to be affected by that, whether they're stamina or magicka. Only the cost is going to affect your ability to use them. So that means stamina skills, magicka players will be able to use them. Magicka skills, stamina characters will be able to use them. This is, a lot of people are saying this is going to change the game. This changes the game. This isn't game changing, guys. This is game defining. Name one MMO where you can use any skill in the game on your character. I'm waiting. You can't. Do you know why? Because no game does that. The only game that comes close, the only games that come close is New World and Albion. But those games are, you are what you wear. So you only get the benefit of what you're wearing. And here, it's what skills you use, you can benefit from regardless. This is game defining. Because now ESO will be defined as the only game in MMO history to allow you to play truly how you want. Because every skill is going to scale off the highest of your max stats. So hybrids, they exist. They are going to become real. This is not only game changing, again, this is game defining. This is probably my favorite thing coming with the Tide of War update, because now it's going to allow for such a massive amount of build diversity and build variety, it's not even funny. Another change that's coming is to the passive skills of Spell Crit, Major Prophecy, and Major Savagery, like you get from the Fighters Guild line and the Mages Guild line, or some class abilities will and gear sets. Now that is across the board. Your Expert Hunter will now scale off your Major Savagery, it will do Major Savagery and Major Sorcery. So that's cool. I hope that they do the same thing that they did with the gear sets that give you Major Brutality and Major Sorcery, I think it is, and add it to this. These are the only, there's only two skills in the game that didn't get affected by the Major Brutality, Major Sorcery, and that was the Hidden Blade and the two-handed Momentum. They only give you Major Brutality. So does this mean that these are going to get Major Brutality and Major Sorcery? I hope so. Because with all skills scaling off of max magicka and stamina, this will make this better. And then on top of that, what are they going to do about potions? Well, somebody said that, asked that. Like, what are they going to do about potions? Well, think about it. You're going to have potions that give you Major Brutality, Major Sorcery, or Major Prophecy, Major Sorcery, and Major Brutality, Major Sorcery, and then they're going to give you your resource. Like, that's still pretty awesome for those who focus on being magicka based or stamina based, but now they'll hopefully get the benefits of those things, which, if that's the case, holy shit, that's game changing. Like, the fact that all this stuff is making the game better. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of negative people out there that are going to say, oh man, this is going to ruin the game. It's going to make it so much easier for noobs to be able to be at the top with the best. Yeah, that's the point. To put people on more equal playing ground. Somebody asked me, why do I play Albion online the other day? Well, I play it because it doesn't matter if I'm in tier 6 gear or I'm in tier 8 gear. I can still fight those people and kick their ass. Because I can upgrade the quality of my gear to match their gear tier. I can go all the way up to tier 9 in tier 6 gear, which tier 9 doesn't exist. So I actually go to tier 8 1. And so I can still fight those people and almost be equivalent to them, and I'm not wasting gold or silver on buying the super expensive sets. I can buy these other sets that are cheaper, upgrade them cheaper than it is to do the top tier, and then I can go play that content. And that's what I've been loving about Albion, is it's reminding me more and more why I love ESO so much. It's the flexibility. Now, I'm not saying ESO is perfect, but there's a lot of things they could do to make it better. And I'll talk about that in another video. But back to the things with the skills. Some skills are also getting updated with what their prefix does. So, like Dizzying Swing, you know, it has the off balance that applies 7 seconds. But then when you look at the other morph, it has the knock up and all that other stuff. Well, they're going to make adjustments to a lot of the skills morphs to make the ones that are less used more used. So there will be reason to use either one of the skills because they're going to have purpose now, and they're going to be more, more liked. If you guys know the skill Lotus Blossom from the Warden skill line, what that does is it adds the major brutality buff and sorcery buff to you. But on top of that, any light attack you do heals, and then every heavy attack heals for more. Well, now you'll be able to do the higher healing from the light and heavy, or you'll be able to extend the duration and have lower healing, but more uptime. So the micromanagement's easier to deal with. Those kind of changes to skills doesn't make one better than the other. It makes a skill choice. Just like the champion system, where it makes it a choice. Just like the gear system, it makes it a choice. The more gear they add to the game, the more ways they add for us to play our characters more efficiently and effectively through what they're doing now by hybridizing skills, hybridizing gear sets, hybridizing passives, and possibly Mundus Stones. Let's hope. All that stuff will play into your character better, allowing you to be more flexible with your character so your character can do a lot more. I mean, you only need the stat resource pool to be able to use other abilities, but you can still focus into one stat. Did you know that you can have a character with a 34k max magicka and a 26k stamina and play the game just fine with 20k health and still clear all the content in the game? Yeah, you can. The game allows you to build that kind of character. And because it does, what this allows is it allows for more build opportunity. It allows for more character customization. It allows players to express themselves through their characters even more. And it diversifies the amount of builds available from, like, say, in-game, from, like, say, 10 to 100. It allows the overland content to be done by millions of different builds, as it is now, and even more because of this. The game just exploded when it comes to build variety. I said the same thing when they did the gear thing. The amount of builds that there was before was like 1.3 or 3 something million, or 3 million. Now it's 6 million. Now it's going to be like 12 million. 12 million builds in a game like this with only 6 classes. And you're wondering, how are you getting 12 million builds out of that? Well, we have 500 gear sets, over 500 gear sets, and even more coming. We have 6 distinct classes that have their own skill lines. We have 10 races that all have their own benefits and perks for playing different ways and can play any way they want, whether you're an Argonian stamina character or a Wood Elf Magicka character. You can still do it. The point here is that all these different things amplify the amount of ways people can play their character, making it a truly play how you want game in the design of the game, allowing for more group dynamics, more group play styles, more everything. Remember when I said that what they're doing is game defining? How do you define ESO as different from any other MMO? Well, we could define it first off by saying you can play anywhere in the game at any level and it doesn't matter. And it's true, you can. You can play any content in the game once you, of course, meet the level requirements for PvP, but anywhere else in the game. Like, soon as you finish the tutorial, you can do a trial, you can do a dungeon. Are you going to be the best at it? Probably not, but it's a great place to start learning it. Because the better you become with the weaker your character is, or the more gimped your character is, the more proficient you will become in the long term because you learn to overcome the challenges with a gimped character. So when you become an experienced player, a knowledgeable player, an expert player, an elite player, you will be better. And the content will feel ridiculously easy. But that's okay. The game is still fun. And that's what matters. Is having fun in the content or the stuff you like to do. You know, when people ask me what's in-game like in ESO, and I'm like, well, what part of in-game do you want to do? And of course 90% say dungeons and trials, and I say it's really good. And then I get those ones who say PvP, and I say it's really good. Occasionally I get those ones that say, how's the crafting, the all that, and I'll be like, that's not that great. Like, the crafting's good, but the implementation of all that stuff and the economy system, it's not that great. It could be better. And how do they make it better? By hearing what the community has to say. And not just anyone, but everyone. Because none of these things that they've done to the game benefit the elite players. This is benefiting all players across the board. And this is what's making the game better with each update. Now, I'm just giving my opinions. I'm not giving fact here. Because, in fact, I don't know like what these changes look like. I'm just going off of what the devs said and what they wrote. And to me, the more they make the game have the ability for us to hybrid skill use, that have the hybrid skill use. Oh, and not all skills, because there are some skills that are health related and that aren't going to be applied to that. So, like, if you play a warden and you use the any of the skills that are based off your max health, they're still affected by max health, not your max stamina and max magicka. And that includes damage shields. But all heals, all damage skills, those are affected. So I'm excited because I don't see the game the same way as other players. I'm a role player, so for me, this changes everything about the game. You know, for the in-game people who do trials and focus on that, it is game-changing for them. Because it changes builds, it changes loadouts. It makes them have to look at the game again and go, what is going to be the new best thing to use? For me, I get to look at the game and go, what would be the coolest thing to combine with this class and this particular build as this role or this build type? You know, I get to look at all the different tools and my brain just literally vomits because it doesn't know how to comprehend all that. Like, it is mind-boggling. So but that's what excites me. Like, overcoming the challenges of creating something that works in the game has always been a tough thing to do in the past, but it's just gotten easier now. It's gotten to the point where I can look at every skill and go, how do I want to incorporate this skill or this skill or this skill or this skill into this build, and what would make it work the best? I get to look at gear and say the same thing. I get to look at monster sets and jewelry sets and the weapon sets and just everything, the traits, the money stones, and go, okay, what would be the best for a new player? What would be the best for a veteran player? What would be the best for an expert player or an elite player? I get to look at all that stuff and go, wow, there's a lot to do. And I agree with a couple other content creators who said the same thing. Like, guys, give us time. It's going to take a long time for us to figure this out. Like, what's going to be the top things to use? Because it is. This is going to take time. I mean, I doubt by the end of PTS anyone will have it figured out. I'm pretty sure it will be when the chapter releases that they'll start figuring it out. and going, okay, this is really good. You know, this combination of gear with these skills, with these traits and these enchants and this Mundus Stone is the best that we can do for this build. But we have like hundreds of others that we tested that were just as good. So I can't wait to see where the future of ESO goes with builds. And I know, like I said, a lot of people are going to be upset by these changes. Some people are going to be super excited. But understand, this drives the game to a better future. And it allows the game to progress into something more. And I'm ecstatic about it. I'm mind blown about it. And I can't wait for it. So, and that's pretty much what we got coming. So, keep an eye out for Monday when the PTS patch notes drop. I will be doing a video discussing them and going over all the gear sets, going over all the skill changes and everything like that. And if I have to break that video up into 2 or 3, I will. But I am going to look through the patch notes to see if I need to do that. Right now, I'm hoping it's just 1 video, but it could turn into 2 or 3. You never know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for future builds, because I've taken some time and I've looked at the game in a whole new light. And I can tell you, I have builds galore coming. I mean, ones that nobody would have thought of. And they are cool. They are freaking amazing. At least to me. I know I'm a role player, guys, but to me, when you can have the ability to use your imagination to create things like builds, and you can just open the floodgates and just create, it's so much fun. It's one of my favorite things to do in ESO is to make builds, because I have a super hyperactive imagination anyway. Oh, I have an overactive imagination. So there's a lot of things I see differently than most people, and so I get these runs going on in my brain about like different builds. Like, you guys have no idea how many ways I've rebuilt the Dread Cleric, which is what I'm playing right now on the live server. How many times I've tore it down and rebuilt it now mentally. Just the gear sets, not just gear sets, but everything now. Like, I got to look at every aspect of the character and say, what's going to be the best way to play this going forward? Because now that all my skills scale off my max stats, off my max stat that I'm using, I can go full on Magicka with this build and not sacrifice as much of that to compensate for having more stamina. I can have a stamina pool that allows me to use my stamina-based skills effectively, but then I'll be able to use all these other things more effectively. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like, that's the whole purpose of these games, is to give you the tools to make the choices, to make the character you want, and play that character how you want. And that, to me, like, having those tools readily available is what's going to make my experience with the game 1,000,000 times better. And I know, again, it's not for everybody, but hey, nothing is. And guys, that is it for the video. I need to get something to drink. I need to take a break. My throat is killing me. And I'm having trouble, like, getting good oxygen, so... But yeah, I'm stoked, and I do apologize again. I'm sorry I've been away for 2 months, but I needed that. I needed to look at like everything from a new perspective, but also playing the game. Like, I know a lot of people are gonna say, I didn't see you log into ESO, dude. You guys realize it's on consoles? Like, you're not gonna see me playing there. And I haven't been playing it that much on console. I've recently got it, so I'm just been playing a little bit here and there. But I do have to say, this is the funnest time to join ESO right now, especially in the coming months. Like, this year is going to be the time to play ESO, and going forward. So if you're an old player wanting to know if it's time to come back to ESO, or maybe come back and try it out, wait until March 7th and give it a go, guys. Because with all the changes coming to the skills, the gear, and all that, the game is going to be so much better going forward. It's not even funny. I honestly cannot wait to see what others do, what others create. Because the game, to me, just got a million times better. So, but as I said, I need to get going. Thank you all for watching. And I'm going to go ahead and close this out like I always do. So, if you guys like this video, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, please subscribe. And if you do subscribe, I do suggest you click that notification bell to be notified when I post new videos. This kind of helps us both out. It helps with the algorithm, helps the channel grow, become better. And I'm going to try and do better in the future for you guys. So, other than that, thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game, especially now.